Ken here, and I'm going to do a three-part series on three of the deadliest fighters of all time. Yes, you heard me right, three of the deadliest fighters of all time. What I hope to do is, for the few who watch this, create a discussion, and what do you think, and who do you think is the deadliest fighter of all time? So, the first one I'm going to start off with is something that all of us boys in the 70s read about, and that is John Keehan, aka Count Dante. How did we all read about him? Well, I'm sure you've heard of Bruce Lee, as well as Chuck Norris in the 70s, Joe Louis and Bill Wallace, and Benny Urquidez. However, many of you may not have heard of Count Dante. Well, I'm going to discuss Count Dante right now for you can see who is one of the toughest and deadliest fighters of all time. Count Dante. We used to see him in all of the comic books back in the 70s because he had an advertisement in almost every issue. Let me read you his bio. Count Dante is the undefeated supreme grand master of the fighting arts. Count Dante won the World Overall Fighting Arts Championship, Master and Expert divisions, after defeating the world's top masters of judo, boxing, wrestling, kung fu, karate, aikido, etc. in death matches. On August 1, 1967, the World Federation of Fighting Arts crowned the Count the world's deadliest fighting arts champion and master. Black Dragon Fighting Society. And there is the picture all of us boys and girls who got a comic book in the mid-70s saw. But that isn't it. He was also featured in other books that I still have that I got as a kid, like the Complete Martial Arts Catalog. This came out, if I remember correctly, in 76 or 77. Let me see here real quick. Yep, 1977. And let me read you a little bit about Count Dante in this. This is the question. Have there been any bare-knuckle full contact karate tournaments? Unfortunately, yes. Even though they violate federal law, in 1967, the late John Keehan, better known as Count Dante, staged a bare-knuckle fight-to-the-finish brawl under the sanction of the World Fighting Arts Federation, his personal association, dubbing it a world championship. His announcement to the martial arts community arose severe criticism when it was discovered he intended to have contestants engage in bare-knuckle, full-contact matches. Disapproval was so general that no one but his own students competed in Keehan's event. His student Vic Ryther won first-place honors. Years later, Ryther told prominent karate sports writer Masad Ayub, "There were 8 contestants. One quit, no one was injured. It was completely no holds barred. There was supposed to be $10,000 in prize money, and it was supposed to be backed by Chicago Wrestling. Then it came down to $100 or something like it." But there's more. The late Count Dante's real name was John Keehan. Before his startling death in 1975, at age 36 from a blood clot brought on by an ulcer, Keehan stood out as one of the most controversial and colorful characters in American martial arts history. Keehan was one of the early pioneers of the United States Karate Association and was instrumental in establishing many USKA schools throughout the Midwest. Though he was known as a teacher, Keehan's real forte was promoting. He would do almost anything to promote karate. He once walked down State Street in Chicago accompanied by a bull, claiming he was going to kill it with a karate blow at one of his many tournament presentations. He, along with USKA President Robert Trias, who is a very important American pioneer, by the way, was also responsible for promoting the first major open karate tournament in the United States, the World Championships in Chicago in 1963. 67 or 63. Anyways, this particular event evolved into the USKA Grand Nationals, one of the largest elimination events in contemporary sport karate. For reasons undisclosed, Keehan violently altered his martial arts philosophy in 1966. He changed his name to Count Dante, a name which appeared frequently in his mail-ordered ads for his controversial book, Den Mach, The Death Touch, That used to be another advertisement in the comic books. It would say Denmark Death Touch. He continued to find himself in difficult positions, however, as he soon afterward raided a competitor's karate studio. A bloody fight ensued, and Jim Kosovic, one of karate's most prominent Midwest instructors of the period, was stabbed and killed with the sword. This was known as the Dojo Wars, by the way, and you can find some history on it in Black Belt Magazine and on the internet. Dante also claimed that he was involved in death matches in the Orient and the United States, though no documented records exist to substantiate his claims. Dante held a bare-knuckle fight to the knockout tournament on August 1, 1967, the first contact event in American sport karate. It was called the World Federation of Fighting Arts Championship. Merely a handful of contestants showed up to compete because a prominent karate magazine openly opposed the event. And since karate tournaments were still non-contact, the strict traditionalists of the period refused to get involved. Dante used his own organization to help promote mail-order sales of his book. He claimed to have been crowned the world's deadliest fighting masters by the World Federation of Fighting Arts. Since he was the president of the federation, he obviously bestowed the title on himself. Since his death, his followers have allegedly squabbled over who should take his place as the world's deadliest fighting master. Which infamous karate instructor was also a hairdresser? Count Dante was a hairdresser by profession. He was one featured in a National Enquirer cover story entitled The World's Deadliest Fighter as a hairdresser. Now, being a hairdresser does not associate mean you can't be a good martial artist. But an interesting, colorful person nonetheless. Tell me what you think. Do some research. And after I present the next two, please vote who you think is the deadliest fighter of all time. Us.